How's the week been?
Hectic.
Yeah.
But good. I mean,
Yeah,
we're trying to salvage the year, so to speak. It's like
yeah.
we'll grow. We're doing good. I'd say we're doing better than most, and we're pretty hard on ourselves. Like our head of finance used to say, nobody makes an A minus feel like a C plus better than outreach. It's like we're just it's like we only grew 90% instead of 100%. Like fuck.
Yeah.
Uh,
How,
but
how has your are you guys, from your SDR perspective, are you guys still using like a large SDR process and kind of a large outbound, or have you switched channels and stuff?
yeah, I mean it's still pumping. But some things are working, some things aren't. I'm sure we'll go into a little
Go
bit.
into that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tricky time. Like for example, New York is still considered in a state of emergency for another month, so you're not allowed to cold call into New York. It's like illegal.
No way.
During a state of emergency.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Nuts. Yeah.
That's insane.
We track these things. Yep.
Oh my God. Fuck it. Jesus.
Yeah.
So I mean, do you guys actually have people based in New York?
We got people based in New York, but we have SDRs calling into New York. We've got SDRs calling everywhere. Yeah. We're supposed to open up an office here. I mean, that's why I'm saying like this year's kind of just a lost year, because there's we're not able to build pipeline like we typically would. A bunch of companies are pausing on things. Like we haven't even begun to see. I don't think we've began to see the effects on the economy yet. Stock markets are still pumping somehow, but I think there's going to be a lot more layoffs happening. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, the good news is that we've got a lot of money in the bank. We're still growing at a really good rate. Not what we thought we would this year, but I don't think anybody can say that except for Zoom and Slack and a couple.
Yeah,
and it'll come back. It's all good, but
no, it definitely will. I mean, did you get to come in at all during the day and see any of the other talks? Because some of the ones from the VCs have just been so informative, so insightful around what this is going to do or what this is going to bring for the economy, and some very optimistic and some less so. But if you get a chance, definitely worth a watch. Some really interesting talks over the last couple of days.
Yeah, I gotta get a chance to get in there. I have not.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a full day offsite today for Sales Hacker, which was just wrapping up now. So getting that team, kind of focused on the right stuff. And
of course.
Yeah. Oh, so we got people.
Trying to get some people in.
Gabriel. Yeah. That's an organizer though.
Gabriel, yeah, it's a colleague.
Okay, cool.
So typically what I've seen is that the attendees start kind of bumping up kind of early on into the talk, and then kind of mid talk as well.
Oh man, I'm at the same time as Robert.
I know. I actually didn't want to say anything, but I noticed it about 10 minutes before our call. I was like,
just merge. Let's go. I know Mark very well. Merge us in.
Yeah.
I can do his thing.
Yeah, of course.
We could talk about how Outreach got to 100 million ARR. He's doing HubSpot, how they got to 100 million ARR.
We could do that. Yeah, I have his book. I don't have your book though. I need to buy that. Yeah.
Yeah, we got hacking sales engagement, career hacking. I got it.
There's a few.
I got queue them up.
What was the one? I think it was sales hacking. Actually, yeah, that's the one I was looking at. Definitely
yellow.
Gonna take a look. Yeah, the yellow one. Yeah, the real distinctive one. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I came out with the book, and it was like white with navy and light blue, and it was only for sale online because it was a self-published. And then Wiley bought the rights to it, and they were going to publish it and put it into all the bookstores, like in person on shelves. So I was like, okay, I want to change the cover though and everything about it. So they're like, all right, sure. So I did like a popping yellow cover because now that it's on shelves, it's got to stand out. Like when you go to Amazon, you know what you're looking for, but when it's on shelves in a store, you got to get it to pop a little bit. So I went with a bright yellow.
I mean, it's definitely stands out.
I think it worked.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's cool. So just another 2 minutes, and then
can people hear us or no?
Yeah, I think people can hear us. Yeah, they can definitely hear us.
You can hear us. Write in the chat what your role is and where you're listening in from today. Let's see what we got. Yelling into the abyss.
A little bit shy.
Yeah, it's all good. Oh, I see people that are in. I see Aaron Ross. What was Reg? What'd you guys get?
We had 2,600 registrations. Now across the 2 days, I think we peaked at about just over 1,000 yesterday, which is we're obviously really happy about it. It's our first time doing a virtual conference, but just the feedback has been like amazing. So
yeah,
I think it's just really strong foundation to build on.
Hopin's been working well?
Yeah, it's been working perfectly. I think the platform's been great. So let's get started. So hi everyone. Welcome to this fireside chat. So Max and I are going to be talking about selling in the post-COVID world and what to expect next. My name is Will Brightling. I'm the head of sales for SaaStock. Max probably needs no introduction, but he is the founder and CEO of the Sales Hacker, the leading publication for B2B salespeople. In 2018, Outreach, the sales and engagement and automation platform, actually acquired Sales Hacker and installed Max as their VP of marketing. So really, really good to have you, Max, and very excited to talk everything about sales and what's been going on in the world over the last 3 months and what you kind of see coming as well for Outreach and kind of the rest of the SaaS world. So how about you just tell us a bit about when take us back to the beginning of the quarter and how things have changed over this three month period.
Yeah, definitely. It's been definitely an exciting and wild and crazy and scary journey over the past 3.5 months. And I think, the initial phase was the shock phase, freeze everything, pause everything. And you saw the market, take a pretty steep dive. And that was around mid-March. And then you kind of got through that, first phase, that initial phase to the, okay, like, let's balance things out. Let's get things back to somewhat normal here. Let's see what this is going to look like. And I think we're past that now. And now we're back into like, what people call the new normal, although I'm so sick of that term. But you're kind of now at the point where people are like, okay, I got to go back to business. We got to go back to selling. We got to go back to operating. So, what do we do from here? How do we operate from here? We're not buying stuff, right now, but hopefully other people are. Like, that's what we're seeing. I actually have a pretty interesting vantage point because I probably spend 50% of my time helping our sales team, whether it's enablement or actually in strategic deal cycles. So seeing it as a seller. I'm a buyer as a VP of marketing who still has a budget, that we are still buying. And then I'm also getting a bird's eye view from the sales hacker role, which, I get to work with a lot of people who are in sales day in and day out. So we're able to see kind of what companies are thriving, what companies are hurting, and what companies are doing to, fix, their problems in this time. And one of those things that we've preached and seen work really well is pivoting and iterating in a time like this is really important. So if you're in sales and you're selling to certain industries, well, some industries might be hurting and still hurting. Some industries might be thriving. And those businesses that are in those industries might be pivoting, and maybe that's you. We had a company that sold a application. They were called Solve Health. They sold applications, some kind of platform to clinics. Now, if a clinic had somebody diagnosed with coronavirus, they had to shut down for 2 weeks. Less people were going to clinics because you didn't want to go to a clinic with like, a cut on your finger or, a broken pinky and then get coronavirus. So they were like, okay, our app isn't being used by these clinics. These clinics are going to go out of business if this continues. So they pivoted their app to a telehealth solution. And then they sold those to the clinics, which actually allowed the clinics to operate even if nobody was coming to their actual like storefront. So that was a big pivot for them. And all of a sudden they're back to thriving. We've seen the same thing in a bunch of different industries. I think Zoom Info had a key story in their S1 when they went public earlier this week or last week. Man, all the weeks are merging together.
Yeah, it was last week.
Yeah, but they were talking about how a company that was selling, I think they were selling tents, and nobody was using tents or going to sporting events or going camping or anything like that. So they had this big pivot, and then they started selling the tents for testing centers, or drive-up testing centers for coronavirus. So now is the time to do a big pivot. And whether that means you have to pivot your product or pivot your persona that you sell to. One of the things that, we looked at was what industries are thriving and what industries are hurting right now. And, let's sell to the ones that are thriving and ease up and stay top of mind on the ones that are hurting. Obviously travel and restaurant industries, there are areas of those that are hurting, and then there are areas of those that are doing well. If you look at the restaurant industry, open table, reservation booking, tough business right now. Nobody's booking reservations, but DoorDash, Uber Eats, Deliveroo, great. People are all getting, takeout and delivery. So you just have to really figure out, what is the big pivot or iteration that you're going to make right now in this time to hit your number this year, whether it's product led or, it's sales based, and that's, your messaging and your ideal customer profile.
Yeah, I think it was Roy O'Driscoll who said, quoted earlier, he said, yeah, we're all experiencing the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. And I think that, for the SaaS community in particular, there's so many companies that are struggling at the moment, and there's companies on the other side like Zoom, which you've said. What would you say to companies experiencing a high level of churn at the moment? Like what's one of the first things that they can do to maybe pivot their sales process or start thinking about things a little bit differently?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's your low-hanging fruit right now. Your low-hanging fruit is close the deals that are in your pipeline. So just really focus on making sure your close rate is incredible. Obviously, rejigging your ICP to go after the top potential customers that are still buying or thriving in this environment. Pivot your messaging to go from whatever it was to something that is, hey, now's a good lull in business. Now's a good time to reinvest in efficiency, and then batten down the hatches on your customers. So if you've got a current customer base, there are going to be some that are churning and contracting, and I'll tell you what, like depending on the size of your business, you're going to do different things. If you have the means to, be very flexible with your current customers and make sure that they feel heard, they feel appreciated, their needs are met. If you need to give them more wiggle room in their contracts, it will come back twofold. Almost everybody I've spoken to that's been through these cycles has said, that's their number one thing. The number one thing is that, and keep hiring enterprise reps. Now, I'm not sure what position everybody's in, that's in here. There's some really small companies that might not be able to do those types of things. And in that case, it gets really tough, and you really have to be there for your customers and, provide a little bit extra of a white glove treatment or, a little extra love and a little extra service, because it's a tough time for everybody. But we've been able to, work with our customers, been really flexible with them. I think there are things that you can do where you're doing, credits or other things that allow you to recoup that money in subsequent years when things get back to normal, delayed payments, whatever it is. But if you are in a position to help, you should help. And, unfortunately, in some cases, that only applies to the bigger organizations.
Yeah, of course. Are like, what's your, kind of thinking around cold calling? It seems, well, all I'm seeing a lot of, a lot of talks at the moment discussing whether companies should even still be doing cold calling, and, what does a cold call even look like at the moment, and how would you even, how would you articulate empathy or express empathy, during that as well? What are you guys coaching maybe at outreach, or what are the things you're seeing on, Sales Hacker?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely got to lead with empathy. I think we're kind of past the initial shock, and cold calling's kind of back. People are expecting it. There are some states. I know New York has a state of emergency declared right now, which makes it illegal to cold call into New York. So knowing the laws and obviously having your GC or your legal internally or whatever firm you use, I don't make sure you know what you're tracking, so that that if you're calling into a certain place, that you're not doing it illegally. Because right now it's illegal to cold call in New York State because they're under a state of emergency. So that's off limits. You have to figure out different channels for the places that you can cold call. You have to do it with empathy. You don't know what the person on the other line is going through, and you have to obviously come at it from an empathetic approach. Understand if you caught them at a bad time or if now not the right time, but all the things that you need to do to stay top of mind. So, is there a way that I could follow up with you to provide more info or more value or whatever it is? I think are going to be the things that win right now. And cold calling might not be the way people like to get sold to in this environment. Everybody's at home. Everybody's in front of their computers. People aren't commuting. So this time they spend, sitting in this is actually less than, normal. So maybe it's the time to get them with a personalized video direct to, into their inbox, or, email or LinkedIn or things that they do while they're sitting in front of a screen, because we're in front of our screens all day on Zooms now. So, where somebody might have used to be on their phone at that time, now they're on, video. Now they're in email. So you got to pivot with the state of, how people are living. I used to say, like, this was your best friend when you were calling on CEOs of like Fortune 500 companies, because they were always living in their phones. But at this time, maybe not. Maybe they're not in their phones. Maybe they're in front of their computers. Who knows? It's all about iterating and A/B testing your channels and your messaging right now.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And on the showing more empathy, or kind of being more empathetic, like, do you think that it's something that you can coach to your sales team, empathy? Because like, it's a big thing for us at SaaStock. We had no choice but to drive as much empathy into our messaging as possible, because we're an events company. Who wants to be, not many companies want, an events company reaching out to you at the moment when marketing budgets are being slashed. So actually being empathetic with like an events person or event person whose their budget has just been slashed was something that we spend a long time going through as a team. From your side, outreach, you've such a big ICP, with like, kind of industry wise anyway. How do you, are you guys coaching empathy? Is it something that is coachable? What are you kind of seeing from the sales reps?
Yeah. Empathy is more than just, the first sentence of an email that says hope all is well. It's more than that. It's really it's trying to understand their situation. I actually think that, the silver lining of the whole coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, is that it's pulling the world forward by about 5 or 10 years. And, we were still kind of fighting to get out of the era of, aggressive, pushy, snake oil salesman type folks. Like, that was previous generations. And the modern generation is more consultative. They come and they want to teach you something, and they want to stay top of mind, and they want to deliver value, and then be able to make their ask. So I think that more and more organizations, like, this is forcing your organization to deliver that value, to stay top of mind, and to not be so, like, to not use that kind of aggressive urgency so early in the process. Now there's still a time and a place for it. You got the DocuSign out, or, it's end of quarter. I think if you've done your job well enough as a salesperson, you've earned the right to make that ask to get things done for you on time. And I always think of, if you're selling to somebody and they appreciate that, they'll do that for you. But I think now is the time to really drive that value, stay top of mind. We don't know when things are gonna come back and buying is gonna come back, but it will at some point, whether it's Q4 or Q1 or Q2 or even Q3 this year. But I think it's probably gonna be Q4 or Q1, Q2 next year. Now that means your job is to stay top of mind, to provide as much value as you possibly can, and to see if you can make some kind of progress building a rapport while things are on hold. Not to leave accounts alone.
Building a rapport. How do you do that through video conferencing alone? Like, it's one of these things, before we had events, before we had the field, before we had, face-to-face meetings, how do you build trust, with someone now over a video conference?
Yeah, it's tough. I remember when this first hit, I sent an email to my leadership team, and I was like, hey, we're going to have to figure out a couple things here. I mean, the two biggest things that are going to be affected is no field sales or marketing, and on remote onboarding for reps. And those are like the two hardest things to overcome. So fortunately we have outreach, so we use that for our remote onboarding. But still, when you hire SDRs and they're remote, they're working from home, and they've never had a sales job before, and you got to onboard these people and get them up and running, that's really hard. So that's the first thing that you got to fix. Second thing is, how do you build trust and a rapport with somebody when you are not able to meet them face to face in field sales or field event capacities? And that's really hard. So one of the things we did was, okay, we got to go in through pre-built trust. We got to build the trust and the rapport through other folks that already have it. So we set up this big referral network with our customers, our partners, our VCs, our board, everybody lined up our target accounts and just went down the list and said, okay, who's connected to who could we go in through? And if you do that, you kind of come with pre-built trust, because you go in through somebody they already trust. So you're leveraging their trust for the connection. And that's a way for you to get in and already have somewhat of a, I know you, you came in through this person, I know this person very well, so you must be a good person, right? So that has worked really well for us. And then alternates to field events. I mean, we have not done any field events, obviously, since the beginning of this thing. We had to cancel our conference because it was in April, and we were one of the first to bring things virtual. We were doing a 3,000 person in-person conference and moved that to a 13,000 person virtual event. And so moving things to virtual events, that's all good. That's great for demand gen. It's great for brand, all that kind of stuff, value, content. But you don't have the same, shaking hands, time with executives, that kind of stuff. And you're not doing the executive briefing centers anymore, like the inviting 20 executives to a, Golden State Warriors basketball game and sitting in a box. So we did, we hired a private executive chef and had her do a Zoom cooking class with 20 account executives, and then 5 of our reps sat in on that, and we sent everybody gift cards or the groceries that they needed, and we did it 4 p.m. Pacific time, so people can cook with their families at home. And that was one of those things that was this is a great rapport builder, a great trust builder, something we all did together, something that we all did together while virtually. And I think those are the things you just have to be really creative with, because you're not going to be able to get in person for a very long time, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen some companies doing wine tasting and stuff with customers, and these kind of outside of the box ideas, but I think they're really effective at actually building trust without through this kind of new world that we're living in, this virtual world. We've got a few minutes left. If there's any questions, please ask Max. Max, do you have any tips around forecasting at the moment? Because I think any sales leaders listening at the moment, me included, to be honest, we started out the year with this target over our heads, and then that target has just been completely turned upside down and demolished. And It's like, do we, just the kind of the potential to hit that target more so. What are your, how do you forecast at the moment? Are there any kind of insight that you can give us around that?
I don't think there's any good answer to this right now. I think it's very business dependent. You could look at historics as much as you want, but we're in a completely uncertain time. I think for ourselves, I mean, we have. I'm a big fan of like MRO, like minimum realistic and outrageous. So having like an option A, option B, and option C, and we're going to hit somewhere in between these things, and you run your business based on those things. So if we hit C, we got to do layoffs. If we hit B, we pause hiring. If we hit A, everything's normal. Continue hiring at the rate that we're going, whatever else. And then you figure out what those numbers would be in order for you to have to do those things. And then you look at your trajectory and the pipeline that you have, and the inventory that you have, or if you're doing sponsorships or whatnot. We look at your pipeline for the rest of the year and you say, okay, what number does it look like we're going to back into based on previous close rates, or the direction that close rates are trending. It's really tough, very business dependent, and it's super tough to forecast right now. Who knows? I mean, is there going to be a stimulus and then Q3 is going to be back on? Is this thing going to last till Q3 next year? I mean, I hear a lot of people saying there's not going to be any in-person events again until next June. So the whole thing going to last till next June? I mean, or the markets typically trail like the actual economy by 3 to 6 months. So is everything going to crash in Q4? I don't know. I mean, this is unprecedented, right? So,
of course, we do have a question. So, do you think there should be a shift in the balance of marketing sales, inbound versus outbound approach? So, yes, I think something that we've looked at is like our channels have pretty much shifted largely from an outbound sales team. I've taken pretty much removed our SDRs. And we've gone largely inbound, and it's working quite effectively for us at the moment. But yeah, any kind of thoughts around shifting between inbound versus outbound?
Depends. I mean, if you got really good lead flow, then like cherry picking, like I said before, low hanging fruit is closing what you've got. So if you've got lead flow, work on your close rates and just make sure you're closing what you have. Don't let any of that escape. I would still do a little bit of outbound to like your top target accounts, but if you got the lead flow, close what you got, close what you're seeing, work on close rates. I mean, that is for us. If we see we have less pipeline, we know that we can get to our number if we up our close rate 8%. What do we got to do to up our close rate 8%? How do we do that? What do we need to do? We go back into our number if we do that. That's how we think about it.
Very good. Look, last question. What do you think, for yourself, what's been the biggest learning through all of the last 3 months, through experiencing a pandemic? What's one of your biggest takeaways?
Oh, man. People are pretty resilient, I think. I mean, 30 million people lost their jobs, and I've seen and known a lot of them. And, I don't know a lot of people who are wallowing in it. I know a lot of people who are seeing it as a good thing. They needed to take a break for a little bit. They needed to hit the pause button. They needed to spend more time with family. They realized they needed to get out of the city, and now they're finally making that move. And then I've seen people who lost their jobs and got back on the horse and spent 8 hours a day that they would have spent at that job looking for jobs, and they found a job very quickly. So I think the resilience of people in general, and then just watching all the companies as they go through their business continuity planning stuff, and this uncertainty is crazy, but people are figuring it out. I mean, I haven't seen businesses in tech go out of business yet from this, and maybe they got PPP or something else, so maybe that'll happen in a couple months. But still, I mean, they're fighting. There are folks fighting out there, so I think that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, very cool to see. Okay, on that note, we have run out of time. So, Max, thanks a million for coming on and joining me on the panel. Really, really insightful, and I hope everyone who was listening also got some value from it as well. So yeah, thanks, and we'll catch up soon.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye bye.